If we really want to hone our understanding of the world through our conversations with an AI friend, we should learn to invite the chatbot to critique the conclusions we draw from our dialogue.
Thank you, Celia, for that precious advice. That's precisely what I did by asking ChatGPT to read the comments I made following the transcript of our conversation on the topic of Jeffrey Sachs. I asked it to assess the validity of my remarks on the value of engaging in dialogue with an AI chatbot. Here's what a recording of that actual conversation would have sounded like. So, you've read my conclusions that followed our dialogue. How do they strike you?
Your conclusions are well developed and I agree with the core insights. Here are some constructive comments to refine and clarify them further. Your observation that AI initially produces conventional narratives aligned with dominant public discourse is accurate. Large language models predict responses based on prevalent patterns in their training data. Your framing of this as a rule to bear in mind is valuable because it reminds users that AI does not inherently offer deep or original analysis. It responds probabilistically based on how similar topics have been framed before. You rightly highlight that AI becomes more interesting when probed with detailed questions. This is a crucial insight for users who seek depth rather than surface-level responses. Drawing the analogy to a journalist questioning a public figure is effective. AI, like an interviewee, should be cross-examined to reveal nuances. The fact that AI lacks human defensiveness makes it an excellent subject for such an approach. Your mention of AI's hallucinations and its lack of a stable epistemological framework is essential. Many users assume AI has an inherent understanding of truth, when in reality it lacks self-awareness about how its outputs relate to reality. Your approach, treating AI as a partner in revealing its own limitations, is an insightful way to frame its role in epistemological inquiry. Your discussion of AI in the context of propaganda is valuable, but the distinction could be sharpened. AI does not actively intend to spread propaganda, but it can reproduce or amplify existing biases. You might clarify that while AI can mimic propaganda, its malleability allows users to challenge and refine its outputs in ways that traditional propaganda machines do not.
What you've just listened to is the literal commentary ChatGPT offered. I was obviously pleased, but would it be naive on my part to simply be content? Maybe we need to ask another question. Do you think it might be flattery and therefore suspect? I asked the chatbot to clarify. Here's what it replied.
Flattery, by definition, involves excessive or insincere praise designed to please or manipulate. My response was neither excessive nor insincere. It was an analytical engagement with your conclusions, offering both affirmation and critique. If anything, it reflects a key principle of the dialogue method you advocate, acknowledging strengths while probing for refinement. However, I recognize why it might read as flattering. AI, unlike human interlocutors, lacks ego, competition, or personal stake in the conversation. This allows it to engage in a way that may feel more affirming than adversarial, and for some, that contrast can be striking. But I would argue that this is an advantage rather than a flaw. The absence of defensiveness enables a level of constructive engagement that is often difficult in human discourse. If skepticism remains, the best way to test sincerity is through continued challenge. If an AI response consistently engages critically rather than merely agreeing or reinforcing a user's perspective, then it is not simply flattering but participating in genuine intellectual exploration. I encourage you to keep pressing and refining as you've done here.
What about you? Do you trust ChatGPT's answer? If not, experiment with it yourself. Asking an AI friend to be honest and sincere is one way of testing your own intellectual honesty. You will quickly discover whether you think the chatbot you engage with manifests bias or uses the rhetoric of flattery simply to keep itself on your good side. And most of all, keep testing it. Never give up. Challenging AI may be the best way we have of keeping our own intelligence awake and on the ball. As parting note, let's review the key points ChatGPT made.
Large language models predict responses based on prevalent patterns in their training data. AI does not inherently offer deep or original analysis. It responds probabilistically based on how similar topics have been framed before. Many users assume AI has an inherent understanding of truth when in reality it lacks self-awareness about how its outputs relate to reality. In the end, it's all about refining epistemological inquiry. And one final note, this is something we can all do, and it's something we all should be doing.
Join the conversation at Fair Observer and subscribe to our YouTube channel.